You started a business called the Beacon on the Hill, which I love that name because I see the little lighthouse on the beach. Oh, how does that work? And that's what that is. It's just this beacon of light, like the direction I should go. Where do I go?
Mhm.
So, yeah, I'm just going to open the floor up for you.
Tell us how it all came about.
Tell us about
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I just want to say to both of you, thank you so much for thinking about having me on because it's really an honor to talk about this concept because at the end of the day, all of us are going to be in a place where we have to question our mortality. We have to question the way in which we treat the people we love who's coming to that time. And unfortunately, every single one of us that lives is going to have a day where we meet our maker. And so I commend both of you for broaching this conversation because there's a lot of people who don't know what they don't know. And because of that, they don't know the questions to ask. And so my hope is through this conversation, that we will uncover some ideas that they may not have thought about before in terms of early planning. And then also some people that are in that place right now, what are some of the things they can do? Who can they talk to? Who can they reach out to? So I just wanted to say all of that to say thank you. Now, to answer your question, I started Beacon on the Hill because I really saw a gap in how families are supported when they're trying to care for their loved ones, right? And, many families struggle quietly and, they're feeling overwhelmed and they're feeling guilty and they're kind of really unsure of where to turn. And so I wanted to create a company that provides personal caregivers that really walks alongside of families. And so I really wanted them not just to be there to babysit, but to offer peace of mind and compassion. And we wanted as a company to provide excellent care. And so we talked a little bit earlier about the name, and really Beacon on the Hill symbolizes this light of hope and guidance during some of the challenging times that people have. And that's really what was behind everything that got started.
Wow.
That's beautiful. I love it.
Do you know it's time to start offering that kind of guidance?
I think, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go.
Okay. No, the first step is really having an honest conversation. And what do I mean by that? It's talking to your loved one, in your case, your mom, about her needs, her fears, what are her goals. And then once you figure that out, then you want to reach out to a professional based on what those needs and goals are. Because, professional home care isn't necessarily for everyone. And we'll talk a little bit more about what are the different types of care, and I'll get into that. But the first one is really just about having that conversation, because at Beacon on the Hill, one of the things that we do is we really guide families through what type of support is needed. And so in some cases, it might be companionship. That's where, they don't want to be lonely. They want to have somebody to talk to. And sometimes they just need help with daily tasks. And simple as that, like, just cleaning up the kitchen or light housekeeping. But some might even need more hands-on personal care. And so that might be simple as combing their hair or helping them get dressed, and more complex is actually helping them take a bath and take a shower. And so that's really having that honest conversation, and then us coming in to find out what those specific needs are to make sure that from the family's perspective, their needs are met.
And I would imagine that you want to have those conversations long before you need them.
Absolutely.
Just sit down and say, hey, we're all going to get there. So what would you want in the ideal world? What would you want to happen in this space? When everybody's thinking right and everybody's, in control of everything.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes, Stephanie, those conversations are hard to have because logically we know that's the right thing to do, right? But emotionally, sometimes family members are at odds with regard to, should we take care of mom myself, but I have a career? Or should we put mom in a home, and I don't want her to be around strangers? Or you know what, it might be the best thing for her. And so having those honest conversations, that's why I started off with saying honest conversations, because sometimes the honest conversations are exactly the conversations you don't want to have, because they're the most difficult ones.
Right. Because nobody wants to offend anyone, upset anyone. And you need to ask the hard questions, though.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
I remember, with my mom, she made all the arrangements and everything that she wanted as far as, final wishes and everything like that. But I told her, I said, look, I am in another state. And on top of that, I have a visual impairment. It's not going to be conducive for me to try and go into your home after something has happened and try to figure out where everything is and what you have and what you've set up. So we need to have that all done now. So it's in a notebook in my hand. I know what you want. I know who to call. I know what to do. So there's no guessing about it.
Oh, I like that.
I love that. That's so important. And unfortunately, you are in the minority of people who think like that. Because what typically happens is a situation happens, maybe it's a life-altering event like a heart attack or stroke, or maybe an older parent fell and they hurt themselves. And that's when the conversation started as a result of something happening. And so for you to take that proactive step, hats off to you, because that's quite rare in my experience.
Yeah, because by the time something happens, emotions are already running high.
That's right. That's right.
You're already in an urgency. Yeah.
Yeah. And then when you're in an urgent situation, unfortunately, you have fewer options to make. And then people have a tendency to make rash, hasty decisions. And sometimes it's based on them taking care of an immediate need as opposed to what's necessary for the long-term benefit of that loved one.
Yeah. Totally agreed.
Yeah. See, for me, with my dad, I tried to have those conversations, but he wouldn't have the conversations. So I had to get real creative and pray a lot. And I found Sam, he was one of my other agents. And I asked him, because he worked at a mortuary at one time in his career or whatever. And so he knew how to go about the right way to get the questions. And plus he wasn't a family member. So I was at the point where I was like, dude, I gotta can you come over? It's like a booklet, because they gave you a booklet where you can have everything laid out, and all you have to do is fill it out, like a fill-in kind of thing. And so I'm like, he won't fill it out on his own. He won't do it with me. Can you come over and just literally have a serious conversation with him, because there's information that I need. And in his mind, that's one thing about, he had prostate cancer. And in his mind, he's fine. Right? But you're at the point where you're going, and to him, he's like, why are we talking about this? I don't understand. I'm not, there's no connection. So I needed Sam to just go in there with, someday this will happen. They need the information. Monique's got, there's 5 kids, a business to run. Can we have this in one place? Right? And so he went through it and he got as much information as possible. But the one thing that he got that was so important was that my dad was military. But my dad never picked up the original papers. So I had nothing. And so we had to search. I'm glad we could search for the papers to get the original papers, because all that stuff's free, but you talk about pulling teeth, right? And so, I don't want to go through that with my mom. I want it to just be nice and laid out, smooth, how she wants everything to be. And so, I'm going to have that conversation
And so
Yeah.
you have to push it. You have to push that conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
And,
know,
and
people are
really
going to
what
want
you're
to put it
talking
off.
about is the difference between like final needs assessments and taking care of their final wishes. And then with home care, it's what is it that they need while they're in the process of decline, because the reality is they're no longer able to help themselves. And so you said something earlier, Monique, that was really important, which is eliciting the help of someone else, because for you, you're just Monica, you're their daughter, you're the baby girl, you're the person they changed poopy diapers in. So
Yeah.
What do you know?
exactly, how are you going to tell me? And then oftentimes as people get older, they hold on fiercely to their independence, and so you don't want to be the person that they feel is now an enemy because you're now here to take away that independence. Whereas with the professional, they can talk to that professional. There's not the same level of emotional attachment to the words that are coming out of their mouth. And then they also see them in their professional role. So they're more open to listening to what they have to say. So sometimes if you find yourself or people in your audience that find themselves in a position where they're so frustrated having those important conversations with their parents in particular, it's really, really important to get someone else that can come in and have that conversation on your behalf.
That's good.
Now, does your company do that?
Yes, we definitely do. So what we do is we go and okay, so we'll get a sense of if they need our services. So that's the first step, is we want to make sure that there is an alignment with what they need and what we do. In many cases, there isn't an alignment. So what we will do is to find out what is it that is the best support for them. Maybe it might be a nursing home, or maybe it might be assisted living, maybe it's respite care, whatever the case may be. We will figure that out early in the process and then align them to those agencies or services. In cases where they need non-medical, then what we do is we go in and we provide an assessment, and we ask everything in terms of what their needs are, what their wants are, what their interests are. Because when we send somebody ultimately to someone's home, we don't just want our personal caregivers just sitting there and babysitting. No, no, no. We want them leading the client and activities that are of interest to them, if it's of interest to them. So we go in and we do a full-blown assessment to figure out what those needs are. Because here's the reality. Sometimes, like people like my mom, she don't want you in her face all the time, talking to her, trying to lead her through all of these different activities. Sometimes she just wants to be left alone. But then there's other people who are very outgoing, and they want to play piano, and they want to do Tai Chi, and they want to do their crossword puzzles. All of those things are personal. And so it just depends on each person and their individual personalities. And then sometimes, quite naturally, those wants and needs sometimes fluctuate even during the course of the day. So we go in with full understanding and full flexibility to navigate and have our personal caregivers engage in that dance, if you will, with them.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, like we said, and he said the information will be in the what
Put
do you
it in
call
the
that?
description.
What do you call that on the bottom down there?
We'll put it in the,
In
we'll
the
put it in the
description.
description.
In the
We'll have the links for you to go to his
Yes.
channel and get that information that you need. And this is definitely one that you're
This
going to
is
want to share with people.
yes.
You need to
Yes.
share it with as many people as possible, because nobody likes to think about it, but it is real. It happens, and it can happen at any point
Yeah.
to a parent, a spouse, a child, sister, brother, whatever. Life happens. So we need to be prepared. So we want you to be prepared. So share, share, share. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and definitely share.